So I run a Discord server for the NFL. We were talking about the AFC West division yesterday, and everyone was giving their picks. And this one guy says, I have the Chargers winning the division. And then I respond to it, and I'm like, I could see the Chargers and the Broncos taking the division. And he goes, hold up, the Broncos? And then somebody else comes in and calls the Broncos trash. Obviously, people on Discord, people on Twitter don't know ball, so they're going to have their takes and things like that. But it just has me thinking, is this kind of exactly what the Broncos want? They're a team that won 10 games last season. They got better and better as time went on. Bo Nix, he had a typical rookie QB start, coupled with costly turnovers, and then he started to find his footing, and he lit the league on fire, was throwing the ball over the field. The thing with Bo Nix as well is he's throwing the ball deep, or he's throwing it underneath, screens, things like that. I'd like to see the Broncos attack the middle of the field more, but that's a story for a different time. But Bo Nix turned into an absolute superstar, wasn't turning the ball over, wasn't taking sacks, was getting rid of it quickly, and he was doing it all with an offense that was very one-dimensional. Denver struggled to run the football, so they go out there and they get R.J. Harvey in the draft out of UCF, of course, and then they bring in J.K. Dobbins later on in free agency. In the draft as well, Pat Bryant, who's going to be a big-time target. And then they also got Evan Ingram in free agency. The offensive line is the same as it was last year, one of, if not the best offensive lines in all of football. The offense was the thing for the Broncos. Defensively, the middle of the defense, they did struggle to stop the run specifically against the Bills, but the offense just, it didn't have enough firepower to be able to compete in the AFC. You're going up against Baltimore, you're going up against Buffalo, Kansas City. These teams can score the ball. We even saw the Broncos fall short against the Cincinnati Bengals, who had an atrocious defense, but man, did they put up points. The Broncos knew that they needed more juice, and they certainly got it. But defensively, despite everything I just said, is why I have Denver legitimately taking this division. And I have them in the likes of those teams I just mentioned. This defense has no weaknesses anymore. You go and you get Dre Greenlaw, and you go and you get Talanoa Hufanga, and it's very easy to see who actually knows football and who doesn't by judging off of the reaction that they have to those additions. I mean, Greenlaw, I get, got injured in the Super Bowl, running out onto the field. But outside of that, he was having an amazing season, like a career year. And what he does in terms of stopping the run, he is going to be the anchor of this defense. And then Talanoa Hufanga sort of came out of nowhere. Of course, he was a fifth-round pick back in 2021 and became a Pro Bowler just by getting an opportunity. So you add in these two guys to a defense that was already amongst the best in football. And it's just going to be continued leaps from a Nick Benito. I know he needs an extension. Can he replicate what he did last season with 13 and a half sacks? Remember, he also took that fumble recovery from the Colts for a touchdown. He even had an interception. So this guy was all over the field. Zach Allen had 8.5 sacks, which is absurd for a defensive end. And then you also have to account for the addition of Jide Barron out of Texas. Hookem, you guys can't see me, but I'm holding it up. He's one of the more electric players in all of the draft, and you get him at 20. He's going to play in the nickel, which also gives you more depth on the back end as well, because you got Chris Abrams-Drain and Jaquan McMillan behind him, which is going to be a lot of fun. And we can't just forget about, of course, Patrick Surtain II, who is the best defensive player in football. At least he won Defensive Player of the Year. I think the Broncos will go as far as Bo Nix can take them. And I'm not saying that as a weakness, like, oh, Bo Nix is like a young quarterback. He's in year two. Can he get them over the hump? It's more so of if Bo Nix can be even better, the Broncos are a Super Bowl contender. Last season, he threw for 3,775 yards, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions for a rookie is incredibly good, even for a seasoned veteran. That is a low amount of interceptions. Like this type of year for a normal quarterback would be seen as very, very good. Like teams would kill for that type of production. Bo Nix did it as a rookie with a very limited amount of weapons. So if you're a Denver Broncos fan, you've got to be extremely excited about what this team is planning on doing this upcoming season. And they're only going to get better and better. Of course, financially, they're starting to gain more flexibility as Russell Wilson's contract is going to be off of the books. They're still paying some dead cap, but the first season, so last season, the Broncos were handicapped. They weren't able to do much. And of course, we started to see them actually make moves this off season. So I'm excited about it. And Denver's schedule, that's kind of the thing. How many playoff teams are they going up against? So one, two, since you can't call Cincinnati a playoff team, but they're very good, right? I'm gonna count that. So 1, 2, 3, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course, we're counting duplicates. So I counted the Chargers and the Chiefs twice because they made the playoffs. So even if you want to subtract that by one and say Cincinnati isn't one, maybe a couple of these other teams will be better than we think. But in overall, it's not actually that bad. That's less than half of the games the Broncos are playing are against playoff level teams. And you'd have to imagine they're going to beat up on the teams that aren't great, like the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts game might be a little bit tough, but there's no reason the Broncos won't win that game. The last time these two teams played, it kind of speaks for itself, right? I do think the Colts will be a little bit better, but the Broncos are just light years better than they were last year. I think they start 2-0. The question is, can they go to Los Angeles and beat the Chargers? And then you've got Cincinnati and Philadelphia. That's a tough stretch. But then it kind of makes up for it because you've got the Jets with Justin Fields. I don't think the Jets are going to be better with Justin Fields than they are with Aaron Rodgers. I could be wrong. I'm not buying it. As much as I like Justin Fields, I remember seeing him at Ohio State. He's an absolute stud there, but I'm not buying it. And then the Giants, the Cowboys. So the tough 3-game stretch sort of subtracts off of the low 3-game stretch. And then we're talking about Houston, Las Vegas, and Kansas City. And it's not going to be fun, but at least the Chiefs game is at home. And then week 17, the Broncos will travel to Kansas City. But if anybody can go to Kansas City, it is the Broncos. They literally were a block kick away from winning that game. And then a really good time to have a bye week because you have to take on the Chiefs, and then you're off after it, so you can kind of go all out and then have that extra week. And then you come off it, and you've got to travel to Washington. Of course, a tough Commanders team that last season completely overachieved, not even overachieved necessarily, but they overexceeded expectations. I guess that's like the same thing and just wording it differently. And then at Las Vegas versus Green Bay. And obviously, guys, division games are always tough. It doesn't matter how bad a team is. You want to beat teams in your own division. So the Raiders aren't like a free win by any means. But then at home against the Packers, that's huge. Going to Lambeau, that's a tough place to play, especially in mid-December. I think the Broncos kind of got lucky there. And then next week is against the Jags, and then at Arrowhead, and then at home against the Chargers. So this isn't the toughest schedule in the world. Like, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I know you don't care about them, but bear with me. The Chiefs take on the Chargers, the Eagles, the Giants, the Ravens, the Jags, Lions, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Broncos, Colts, Cowboys, Texans, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. Like that is an absurd schedule. There's not a lot of leeway there at all. So that's why I think the Broncos are going to be in a good spot. I just find it hard to believe that Denver is going to win anything less than 11 or 12 games. I wouldn't be shocked if they win more, if they win 13 games, if they go 13-4. I think this is the best defense in football. I think Bo Nix is an absolute stud. There's much improved weapons around him. There's actually a run game. And Sean Payton is going to have more at his disposal. He was very limited as a play caller due to the lack of who was around Bo Nix. But now he's got some legit weapons to work with. And of course, none bigger than Evan Ingram. I mean, he is going to be a monster in this offense, standing in at 6'3", 240 pounds. He's agile enough to be able to catch the ball behind the line of scrimmage and to make a play. Down in the red zone, he's as good as it gets in the NFL. In terms of his efficiency, it's even better than Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce right now, not prime Travis Kelce, but just goes to show he's going to be a weapon, man. I'm excited about the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to crush it, man. They're winning the AFC West.